I love Assassin's Creed as much as the next guy. From the original with Altair to the second one with Ezio that really solidified the franchise for me. Even the more recent games such as Unity and Syndicate have had their merits, and of course Odyssey and Valhalla, whilst being incredibly different, still have a lot to love for at least open world fans. But one thing that I think people really want is Assassin's Creed in different time eras, at least going more modern. And actually, we got something very similar. In Assassin's Creed Unity, there was a fun mission where you were able to find one of the tears in the Animus, and it brings you into different time periods, yet you as the character don't change. It is kind of one-off missions that don't really have much of an effect on the overall Assassin's Creed Unity, but it kind of gave us a hint at what Ubisoft really wanted to do in the future. And one of these was World War II Paris, and my god, was it incredible. Climbing up the Eiffel Tower at night, heading inside and then being attacked by planes, using MGs and anti-aircraft to try and take them down. It was a very small segment that only really encapsulated one tiny part, in this case the Eiffel Tower, but I think it was Ubisoft's way of letting some of the developers roam free and have a little bit of creative liberty within Assassin's Creed Unity to make the game that they always wanted. But someone took it one step further. They took that Assassin's Creed Unity World War II mission and put it into daytime, modified so it actually feels and looks like an Assassin's Creed game, with full daylight, and it actually works pretty well. These kind of things normally look a bit strange, and of course you're not going to get all the same lighting effects, and things like spotlights and stuff are still on within the day, which, you know, isn't exactly that realistic. But my god, does it really show you the scale of something like the Eiffel Tower within Assassin's Creed. These modern day landmarks that we've never really explored, since we've gone back to the ancients in Origins and Odyssey, and we've even gone further forward when it comes to the more Renaissance style games. But modern day, in terms of the 20th and 21st century, that's still something that Ubisoft have yet to explore, except from within this. I think a lot of people, when they saw this game mode and little mission within Unity, thought this was going to be the next title. We were going to go this way, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. It went to Syndicate, and then of course it went to Origins. Nevertheless, I do think a World War II game with Assassin's Creed would sell absolutely massively. It would probably be one of their most popular, and with Mirage them coming out and stating that they want to change up the franchise, almost go back to the originals and what made them great and popular in the first place, I think this is a way to do it whilst keeping those smaller scale mechanics, but a fresh take, a more modern look on the Assassin's Creed games. Yet after this, someone took it a step further. Teaser Play is a YouTube channel that makes Unreal Engine 5 styles of concept videos. They've done everything from a Bully remake to a new God of War, GTA 6 to a Superman game. Now these videos tend to go semi-viral because people think it is a real announced game, and then they get a lot of dislikes, kind of warranted because you're kind of tricking people to think this is an actual title. But I still think that it really is a great concept of showing what it could look like, and they did Assassin's Creed World War II. Of course, this is all pre-rendered Unreal Engine 5 stuff, so all the stuff like the animations, the gun sounds, and pretty much everything looks really janky and nothing like Assassin's Creed other than the actual visuals. But hey, I think there could be so much scope for it. Assassination missions during World War II, you could be an undercover spy for whatever army you wish, maybe even part of the French resistance. That, I think, is where some real fresh takes and would really breathe a new lease of life into this franchise that seems to be at least on the edge somewhat. Elsewhere in the news, it is a bit of a disaster for the World War II FPS genre. Hell Let Loose is a fantastic game that is getting all the love at the moment, not from just the developers but also its fans. Yet on the flip side of that is Post Scriptum, always being up in competition with Hell Let Loose and not being that far behind really, at least in quality. Player base has always been a separate issue though, and Post Scriptum has had its fair share of difficulties. From more clunky game mechanics to that more hardcore realism that kind of scares away a lot of new players, it has never quite lived up to the heights that Hell Let Loose set. Developed by Periscope Games, it was still very, very popular, focusing on that historical accuracy and large-scale battles. But this could be the end. This could be it for Post Scriptum. It has been rumoured, at least widely in the community, that a majority, if not all the developers have been sacked or at least have left. There has been a lot of firings down at Periscope Games, and whilst nothing official has been announced by the team over there, these rumours seem to be pretty well founded. The Periscope Discord is pretty much rioting. So what really can be done? The game at this point has fallen off in a big way with about 200 concurrent players, which is fine for a few matches, but if you're really trying to get a good active multiplayer focused shooter, 200 just isn't gonna cut it. The counterpart being Squad, published by the same house, they are probably going to be focusing on that for the meantime. It's had way more updates, it's had way more popularity and success, and I think that 13,000 concurrent players being one of the most healthy FPSs on Steam at the moment, that's probably where all the focus is going to be. Not only this, but the developers also tried to pick up and work with another FPS earlier on in the year, Beyond the Wire, their World War I foray into realism. That game was dead after a month, and it seems like it is a trend for this publishing house now. They have one fantastic hit in Squad and two big misses. Post Scriptum did have success in the past, but it's never really been, and what I'd assume, been a profitable game for them to carry on development. And this is probably showing in the lack of updates coming recently and the recent rumours of many layoffs within the company. It's very sad because these are decent games. Even Beyond the Wire, whilst it missed out on so many things and never really blew up in the same way, still had a lot of good merit. And I still think that there is a massive place for realistic first-person shooters. But maybe it's just the modern-day crowd that want it, which is why Squad is the only one that's done really well. You might say that, look, Hell Let Loose has done it, and that's World War II. But it's never really been about full realism. It's got the nice bits that Post Scriptum have, but it's actually quite arcadey compared to that title. And I think that's actually done well for it because it's been much easier to access as any random player. And whether we get an official announcement anytime soon, it looks like Post Scriptum is on the down and out, which is sad because I would have loved it to be the next Hell Let Loose. Darktide was the sequel to the ever-popular series Vermintide and Vermintide 2, the co-op multiplayer shooter that would take you into the grim dark of the Warhammer 40k universe. And it's pretty good, it's pretty fun, but it's not been all plain sailing, and recently the developers have had to come out to state and try and hold back a lot of the criticism that has come in their newest title. Upon release, people were incredibly excited. The Vermintide games had built up a massive fanbase for being the really fun and satisfying hack and slash Warhammer champions. And having that moved into the 40k, debatably more popular area of Warhammer, was always going to be a smash hit. Yet when it actually came out, whilst it was really fun and there was a lot of good in it in terms of content and especially in terms of the way that Darktide and Fatshark the developer approached microtransactions within the game, criticism started to hit back and people were really not happy. So on January the 24th, Fatshark came out on Twitter saying, "We take enormous pride in our ability at Fatshark to deliver a game that millions can enjoy. This is what we set out to do with Warhammer 40k Darktide." They then go on to mention, "We fell short of meeting those expectations. Over the next few months, our sole focus is to address the feedback that many of you have. In particular, we will focus on delivering a complete crafting system, a more rewarding progression loop, and continue to work on the game stability and performance optimization." And the response seems to be pretty positive. The community, even the ones that were slamming the game for not being and living up to the expectations of the previous Vermintide games, are on their side. I think it's very clear that this is a community that want Darktide to do well, but are more disappointed rather than just plain angry. And I'm glad that Fatshark have managed to address it. And with that, just a day later, the newest patch came out, fixing and addressing a lot of the issues, more specifically crashes and issues with the multiplayer portion. Oh wait, the whole game's multiplayer. Okay, that's probably a good thing to fix. But at least it looks like they're actually addressing some of the biggest issues, and hopefully it will then eventually live up to the titles that came before.